Hello everyone, welcome back to the Forge. Now I've been asked a lot about the process that I use to put my maker's mark on knives. As you can see here, that is what my maker's mark looks like. So I can get a little closer here. I do electro etching on mine. Now you can also hot stamp it. I prefer this method because my maker's mark has a lot of fine details that would be lost in a hot stamp. Either method works out great. This is the machine I use right here. This is a Personalizer Plus electro etching machine. There's actually two models of this etcher. There's the Plus model and then just the Personalizer. The difference between the two is this one I can kind of dial in the intensity of the etch, where the other one is just a set. There's no dial on it. It's just one output, that's all. Of course, you flip the switch for etch and mark, but this is the one I use. I bought this one. They were available at Texas Knife Supply. At the time, I paid, I think it was $300 for it, $325. Texas Knife Supply, as of the making of this video, is currently out, but Jant's Supply does have them. And for the Plus model, it's now $395, and for the regular model, I believe it was $295. So about $100 difference between the two. Okay, so moving on. Some of the things you're going to need when you do it this way, of course, is you're going to need stencils to put on your knife. Y'all seen this multiple times in my videos. I use IMG of Utica. It's in Utica, New York. I can email these guys, tell them what I need, and they will literally have it out to me within about 3 days' time. I have heard people say that sometimes it takes a little longer, or they may not respond very quickly. I've never had any trouble with these people at all. It may be based on where you live, or maybe workload at that time, but really good company. There's also multiple other companies out there that you can use as well. I just really like their quality. The stencils, when they come, let me get them out of here right quick. They come on a blue film. This is what we look at. This is what they look like right here. We just cut it out with scissors, and then I use Scotch tape to hold on the blade. We'll get to that here in a minute when we etch a piece of steel to show you how to do it. Alright, so I believe you come with 5 stencils per page. I think I have one in here that is unused, and we'll just look and see. I don't want to tell you one thing and then it not be right. So, yeah. Oh, 6. You get 6 per sheet. See where I moved the one there on the bottom? So you get 6 per sheet. So, I was wrong. Fantastic company to work with. Alright, moving on. To do this kind of etching, you're going to need some Electrolyte. This Electrolyte 94 right here is what I use. I also get it from IMG. It's a pre-mixed electrolyte. Some people use salt water. I've even heard on the bladesmithing forums of people using Gatorade. This works really well. Never have had any trouble with it whatsoever. It's not very expensive. I think it's $12. $12 for a big jug. I believe this is a liter, I believe. And so I've been using this one jug right here before I moved to Alaska. Used it the entire time I was in Alaska, and then brought it back when we came back home, and still got a substantial amount. And I'm doing a lot of knives with this. This isn't like I'm just doing a few knives or whatever. I'm doing a lot of knives, and I still have a full one at the house that is unopened. And like I said, they get these shipped out really fast as well, and very much worth the money. Alright, so let's get down here and check this out. Okay, now using this style of etcher, you have the electrode here on the end, and then you have a little gator clamp here that you ground the blade with. Now, most of you know how that works. For those of you that don't, you would clamp it onto the knife. Now, when I etch knives, I do it before the handle goes on. It's just easier that way, easier to clean everything up. Like I said, if you've watched the channel much, there's several knives I've etched on here. You'll see how I do it. But you ground it off. You come in, dab it. There you go. like I said, we're fixing to etch a piece of steel here in a minute, and I'll show you the steps. Now, usually you put felt over this. They sell pre-cut squares and everything else that you could use on this for an etching pad. Now, I watch Jay Nielsen, and I follow his guide to do this. It's on his tips and tricks video of his knife making series, and he said he just uses makeup pads from the dollar store. That's what I've got right here. These cost $1 a bag. Go pick them up locally and just use them. They work just fine. You don't have to have any pre-cut special pads to do this and do it right. Everything that I've done here on the channel that you've seen has been done with makeup pads over the electrode. Felt works well, felt works really good as well. Alright, so let's move on to the next step. Alright, what we got here that we're going to be etching today is just all this is a stencil or template I use to do this hunter style knife. And so it's just a mild steel, but the process for etching a carbon steel blade would be exactly the same. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get my stencil and we're going to go ahead and cut it out. Now leave enough around it that you can put the tape and not have to worry about having the edge of the tape too close to the details on your stencil, because if you tape over the stencil where your words or whatever are, you're going to have trouble. It will not etch those areas. Now ideally you would also clean this with acetone or isopropyl alcohol. Make sure it's good and cleaned up. I'm not going to worry about that for this video. We're going to take our Scotch tape. Now these stencils are not adhesive backed. If you had like a Cricut vinyl cutter, you could actually use adhesive backed vinyl for this, and but they'd basically be a one-time use unless you keep them from wadding up. So now I usually try to put at least a couple of layers on, just in case it tries to work its way down in there where maybe I didn't get it tight enough. And then I always make sure the tape extends to underneath where the handle scale will go. In case I get off, it's going to be covered by the handle. And I always put some extra out here on the end in case my electrode gets too far over. I don't want to etch a nicely hand-finished blade. So our stencil is now taped up. We're ready to put our electrolyte in a little cup here. And I'll show y'all how I do it. Alright, we're going to use one of our makeup pads here. I just got a rubber band. Put it over like that. Get a little better focus here. Alright. That's what we're looking for there. Alright, and we'll move on. We're going to get our electrolyte solution. I'm going to go ahead and put some in this little measuring cup that I have. It don't take a whole lot. You don't want this drenched. I keep a cloth on hand, and what we're going to do is we're going to dip it in here, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of dry it off a little. We don't want a lot running all over everything. Going to go ahead, hook our ground up, and we'll get ready to be then we'll be ready to start etching. Now what I normally do with this is, of course, you want it set to etch. Let's see if I can get this here where we can see a little better. You got mark and etch, etch will actually be etching or cutting into the steel. Marking will just be putting a mark on the steel. Basically, you'll just have a black maker's mark that can rub off or sand off really easy. Definitely want to go with etch. I also go at about 2.5. Now, some people will say, why not go higher and just, you know, because I'll do 10 passes on this is what I'll do on etch, and then I will flip it down to mark and do 5 passes. And you may hear people say, well, you know, I turn it up to 3.5 and I only do 1 pass and that's it. That will destroy your stencils. It will burn your stencils up. It's better to do 2.5 and do more passes, so you can get more life out of your stencil than to just burn one up to get a maker's mark on there quicker. I mean, honestly, at this point, it's better to take your time than to rush through things. So we're ready to start etching. So let's go ahead. Like I said, 10 cycles. And these 10 cycles I do are for about 10 seconds. I pick it up and I'll move it just a little bit, just to make sure that I'm getting the entire stencil covered. Then I'll go ahead and flip it down to mark, and we'll do 5 passes. These are at 10 seconds each as well. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, there's our mark. And what I'll do now is I will take some baking soda and I will put it on here and rinse this off real good, and then take a piece of high grit sandpaper and sand over it. Clean everything up. Alright, and there's how the mark turned out. Now, surface finish does make a substantial difference when you do this. If your scratches are running this way, it can make your mark a little bit blurry. And whatever grit you're up to in your hand sanding can make a difference as well. This one right here is at a rough 120, where I just ground it flat. Like I said, this is a blank. This is not a, or this is a template. This is not a knife that I'm making. I just wanted to give you an example of what it would look like etched on a blade. But But yeah, surface finish does make a difference in how clean and clear your maker's mark would turn out. And like I said, with mine, let's see if I get that to focus, using an electro etcher, the letters come out nice and crisp, where if this was a stamp, I would lose a lot of the detail in the smaller letters in here. So I really like this method, but I switched over to this when I made my maker's mark a little more detailed than what it used to be. So there she is. Alright, and there you go. That's my etching process. Straightforward, simple and easy. Like I said, get my stencils from IMG of Utica. Got my etching machine from Texas Knife Supply. They may have them in stock again by the time this video is posted. But like I said, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. If you don't want to be out so much money on one of these machines, and you're pretty handy at DIY stuff, go check out Redbeard Ops channel. He has an in-depth video on how to make one of these. It will not be adjustable like this, but you can make it. He uses it to mark his knives, and it does an excellent job. So with that being said, I appreciate you for checking this out. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And we'll catch you on the next video. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you would. Ring the notification bell to be notified when this content is it posts. And I'll see you soon. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.